right, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Romancing Our Stones, the male survival guide to pop culture and basically life that your girl will drag you to. I am Matt.
And I'm Alex.
And what are we drinking today, Alex?
Today we are drinking our own brew. It is a Kolsch of no name and an unknown alcoholic by volume.
Yeah, there's a lot of steps that we're supposed to take when we make these beers, like test the gravity to find out the alcohol content, give it a name. We don't do that. We literally drink it as we would probably put our mouth under the funnel as we're bottling
Pretty
if
much.
it was kosher, but it's really good. It's good. Is our beer brew number 3?
4.
3 or 4?
I want to say it's the 4th one.
It's the 4th one. So we're
rocking and rolling.
Yeah, if you want our beer, tweet us. Can't send you any, but just tweet us if you want our beer.
We'll send you photos of it.
Yeah. Really nice photos. Well, today we're talking about Married at First Sight season right now that's on Netflix, episodes 6 and 7. This wraps up the honeymoon, and it goes into their first time moving into their hometown together.
And it's season 9, by the way.
Season 9,
Yeah.
available now on Netflix. Check it out. It's starting to get real now because, this particular episode that we're going to be talking about is a transition from honeymoon phase to real life, which is where this show kind of differentiates itself.
Mm-hmm. And real life conversations actually start to happen. It's not just rainbows and butterflies all the
I'm
way
going to
through.
fix your mic here.
Better for the camera.
Yeah, just so we can hear you. Gosh, there's a lot of things in this episode, from stupid fights,
Oh, yeah.
a catamaran named Squidward.
Which I think is a brilliant name.
Yeah, and then you have the emotional roller coasters of Deanna applauding herself for Greg not complimenting her, and then Pastor Cal telling her that that's insane.
Yes.
That you don't want compliments. They don't come back.
Yeah. We'll get into that, but I thought that was one of the best parts of episode 7 for sure.
So, Jamie starts off the episode by dropping the L-bomb with Elizabeth, and Elizabeth has said, I finally understand what love at first sight is. She doesn't realize she's on day 6 with him, so love at first sight doesn't apply.
Yes, and the timetable's off, yeah, because love at first sight would have been like the second she saw him coming down that porch.
Yes.
In that wedding venue. But I also think it's interesting that she says that, and again, we're still in the honeymoon phase. Literally, still in the honeymoon phase.
They're not even back yet, and they've already had 2 fights. But
yes,
before Alex and I go too far into the honeymoon phase, I want to thank our sponsor for the show, Wash Park Lending. Justin there. So visit your mortgage professionals at Wash Park Lending to get your home and loan done right way. Justin at Wash Park Lending will take a consultative approach to your home mortgage and make sure you feel comfortable and confident every step of the process. With rates now as low as 2.75 and hovering at all-time lows, it's a perfect time to refinance or buy a new home. Visit washparklending.com to get started. NMLS number 1952608.
And that's Justin again.
Just to speak off cuff here a little bit, this housing market, we're still seeing some of the lowest rates we've ever seen right now. And the fact that money is cheap and the market is softening, it's a great time to either buy and or refinance. So be sure to reach out to our friends at Wash Park Lending at washparklending.com. That's spelled just the way that it sounds, WASHPARKLENDING.com. So thanks for them. Now our honeymoon phase is over. Now we're getting back into real life.
Yes.
Let's talk about this TV show.
Let's dive in.
Yeah.
Let's dive in.
Okay. Let's talk about Elizabeth, because there's a lot of content there, and we probably could do a whole show on Elizabeth alone.
Yes. But Elizabeth is what her dad calls her. I'm going to call her Beth from now on. All right?
Okay. There you go. Whenever a girl says, I'm kind of a diva, that's a red flag. That means that person is incapable of having a conversation, coming to a settlement.
Yeah.
And if a guy's like, I don't play by anybody's rules, also a red flag, because rules are important.
Yes.
In some fashion.
Well, if you throw those two in a bottle and you switch them around together, you get a chemical reaction. It's not going to be great.
Yeah, you get a Jamie explosion. But it came out as I love you, which is crazy. But I think you look at this last, these last couple days of the honeymoon, and you kind of see how some of these relationships are turning. You have Jamie and Elizabeth, who already had their first fight about him leaving. You have Iris get upset at Keith for his ring falling off,
which is not fit to size.
Yeah, so it's, like, in the grand scheme of things, I know there's men and women think differently in terms of symbolism of a ring. It's let's call it a $70 ring, because it was, or maybe $70 to an $80 ring at the most, which I know isn't, which can be a lot of money, but at the same time, it wasn't like he threw it in the ocean out of anger.
Or that he left it on the countertop of the restaurant bathroom and forgot about it.
No,
right?
Or he was out banging a floozy. I mean, he was walking hand
put
in hand.
Put it in the dresser drawer, but we'll get there later.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, we watched ahead. Ay. But he was walking down the beach kind of hand in hand with her for the most part, and it fell off. And by the grace of goodness, he found it.
Yeah, by combing the sand, right?
Holy crap. But she was so mad at him. And it was something that she even brought up when she got back from the honeymoon.
She'll continue to bring it up.
Yeah.
At least 2 other times.
And it's one of those things, in the grand scheme of things, it's like so here's what I've been thinking about a little bit is that, a lot of these folks have the single mindset within a marriage in the sense that everything that's happening to them right away is, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening to me. Where a marriage standpoint would be okay, we need to replace your ring as soon as possible. It's attacking the issue and feeling so hurt by it up front as opposed to looking at the grand scheme of a forever relationship.
Yeah, and it depends on who they are as people, right? I mean, if Keith was the kind of guy that wasn't thoughtful and that wasn't conscientious, it'd be dude, you need to pay attention to this stuff. This is important, right? But he is thoughtful and he is conscientious. You can tell he doesn't speak before he actually thinks about what he thinks first and speaks second, right? And so I see that just as an overall theme with who he is as a person, that the ring thing was probably something that happened by accident. He's not accident prone. And at the end of the day, and this is where, again, girls and guys get things a little bit different.
Yeah.
Guys are at the end of the day, I'm going to bed and I have the ring on my hand. We're good. Episode over, right?
Correct.
And for some reason, I feel sometimes, and it's not just women, guys can take this, if it were to happen on the flip side, where it's taken as they don't care. It's no, accidents happen.
Yeah.
Accidents happen. And especially considering Keith has been used to wearing a ring for 0 days because he's actually not used to wearing it. He's been wearing it for 4 days, right? So, I mean, a little bit of grace can go a long way here early on in the relationship.
And that's why you have an insurance plan on your jewelry.
Right.
If it falls off, we can replace it. But if you fight with me and we get into an irreparable situation or cause irreparable harm to our relationship,
what's the cost of that?
There's no insurance for
on
that. No.
Yeah.
There's an expensive divorce attorney at the end of that.
Yeah.
But it's they each the single versus married mindset. I mean, when Deanna and Greg, first off, that's a really cute, unique relationship too, because although Greg is entirely creepy when he goes into this macho sex mode, goodness gracious, dude, I get creeped out. I'm oh, poor Deanna. But at the same time, he's trying to meet with her on some level.
Yes.
And he wants to make her feel valued and supported. And she hates that because she's so independent.
Yes.
And she high-fives him for not giving compliments to her. You haven't given me any compliments today. High five!
Which, and you can see Greg's face when that happens. You can tell it kills him inside.
Oh.
Because here's the thing. I'm sure he was raised, thinking, your wife, you treat her like a queen.
Yes.
And she is your world. And, she should always know her value in your eyes, right?
Yes.
Which I completely agree with, by the way.
Yes. I can't say yes enough. I mean,
you can tell this guy's dying inside every time. She's like, "Cool, you didn't compliment me," and there's a difference between putting a wall up and having a wall up, and pushing.
Yes.
And she's always pushing the compliments away.
Well,
she puts him down. It's she penalizes him for giving her a compliment.
When he goes into glazed over sex eyes mode, I understand the pushing back. But when he is trying to like meet her, and I like the conversation they went into after the Commons thing, where they're trying to find common ground. She asked him about his spiritual upbringing.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, even though we don't go to the same church, I think we can figure this out. And then which is really funny because she said in the cutaway before that she doesn't have a home church. So if you don't have a home church and he does, it means you could potentially have the same church.
Yeah.
There's no conflict.
Yeah. Well, it's Schrodinger's church. You guys either could have the same church, or you guys would obviously have different ones because you have not picked what your church is going to be yet.
Yeah, and you know, so like the biggest another part of the conversation that I want to bring up though is that, you know, Deanna said she wants to address situations right as they happen. If there's a situation she's unhappy with, doesn't matter what the scenario is, she's going to talk about it in that moment. Now, Greg waited 5 episodes to tell her about his ex-fiance, which I think is relatively important. So he obviously is of a different mindset that he doesn't need to address something right up front, which I think could be problematic because, you know, if someone is more passive and all of a sudden they're with someone that's aggressive and the person that's aggressive says, I want to talk about this right now, you know, that can cause a lot of friction and anxiety for that person. Yeah.
And again, part of that, for me, context is always important, right? I mean, if you're sitting at a restaurant somewhere and something comes up, it's like, all right, this isn't the place, all right? There's timing and there's place.
Yeah, and that's what, and at a restaurant's where you bring up an affair so they can't overreact. I mean, that's an opportunity for you to be really
protect yourself.
Protect yourself. It's an insurance plan, but you don't need to talk about the fact that, you know, they farted in bed the night before and you're not happy about it. Or, you know,
exactly. Yeah,
it's you know, pick and choose your battles.
I'm a big fan of being in sync with my wife on. There's a time and a place to have conversations. Let's just make sure we have that safe space at that right time and have that conversation.
And I think so too. And this is something that you know, I don't like, is that, you know, you have to be able to in a long-term relationship marriage put the fight on hold for sleep, put the fight on hold for an appropriate time, or not a fight, but the conversation at least.
Yeah.
And you were gonna be like you disagree.
No. No, keep going. I've run into this, and I'm. You and I think we're simpatico on that one.
Well, it's like, you know, the Bible says, "Don't let the sun set on your anger," which I think there needs to be a comma, and then it needs to say, "But don't be still arguing about it when the sun comes back up." I think that, you know, there's a certain point in time where, you know, you can get nowhere in a conversation, where it's time to get some rest, get some separation, get some time to think, come back.
Yes.
Once you have clear heads. I don't think,
and that has always benefited me in anything that like I've had with, be it girlfriends and my wife.
Correct.
Right? Where it's like, if there's something going on, and there is the like, let's let cooler heads prevail.
Correct.
And acknowledge the fact, like, we're not putting this away. We're going to just set this to the side, and we're going to get back together tomorrow to talk about
Well, it doesn't mean never talk about it or stuff it away.
Well, and it's also going to be like, this needs to be addressed tomorrow, but we need to both take a step back. We need to calm down. We need to sleep on it. Understand, like, for me, it was always about formulating how I wanted to express how I was feeling about that.
Correct.
And that way, when you're coming to the conversation the next morning, it's way more constructive than it's as you guys are both trying to figure out what it is. Because at that point, all that's coming out they're not feelings that are coming out, it's accusations that are coming out.
You fight like Elizabeth and Jamie do.
Yes, exactly. Perfect example.
Dudes, Matt, if you're listening, let me break it down for you so you understand. Okay, pretend you take a dump in the bathroom and it's really stinky in the bathroom, and you and your girl are fighting about how stinky it is. Go outside of the bathroom, let the stink drop a little bit, and then talk about it at a later date when the stink is gone. Basketball. I hope
you're making an assumption he can put together a Wi-Fi connection, but okay.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, so I think that phones are the best way to keep in touch with each other, because like phones are like a line of communication.
That kid.
Okay.
That kid gets me.
So that was interesting. And then they all go on this boat ride from hell, where it was way too choppy out there, and I love the heavy metal music that the producers chose to play as they're bouncing through that. But you know, like
cutting through chop.
You look at some of the people and how they're reacting to each other. Is that, you know, people are uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Amber's uncomfortable. Deanna, you can't tell. Iris
Deanna would be a fantastic poker player.
Iris is not happy, and Elizabeth is in agony. Amber's not blaming Matt for the choppy boat ride that the producers made them go on.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth is ripping into Jamie for
There's
the situation.
many colors in the rainbow.
And she just tells him to fuck off, and he calls her dramatic, and it's like everyone's on the boat experiencing the same thing.
Yeah. But they love spinning each other up. They love spinning each other up. They always say things that just spark up.
It's next episode we'll talk a little bit more about some of their fights because there are some intentional barbs that have been thrown. But then unfortunately for everyone, the honeymoon ends and they go home.
Time to go back to exotic Charlotte.
Exotic Charlotte, and Greg can't wait to get back to his beanbag room. Do you think
the game room?
Yeah, the game room. Do you
He's
think
still
that
a
he
bachelor
lost?
that owns a home, though? By the way,
he does own a
Pretty
home,
impressive.
and Deanna felt safe that they both own homes. Little do we know that she collects shot glasses and
that was a little bit okay.
Like.
It was a bit cringy.
As someone that's brags about being so independent, it's like, here's my little trinket collection. I get it, but it's like, I think I saw like a Jamaican guy jerking off in one of her shot glasses. It's like, okay, like
Jamaican jerk. It's a play on words,
Caribbean style. I take it back, Deanna. I love your set.
It's metaphor.
Yeah. But
no, that's always something that's always cringe. Even just like anybody's house, I say they're like a shot glass collection, let alone an IKEA 4-tiered shelving system that's dedicated to one. It's cringy.
It's cringy, and the other thing I found cringy in her house is that she doesn't have a couch that faces a TV. The couch doesn't face the TV. What are you doing on the couch? You could be reading, but you have a TV in the room. So what are you doing? Are you like craning your neck?
I think it might be the thing where she only turns it on when she's cooking, and she can see it from the kitchen.
Oh.
Or doing the dishes.
You keep giving people the benefit of the doubt. I'm sorry, Deanna. Again,
it's my only thing. Is maybe she uses that for background noise or watches things briefly while she's either washing the dishes or making food.
And I don't think she's ever had a man there before because she keeps saying that her dog hates men. But when
dog was skittish though. Dog was super skittish.
You think so? But
at first, yeah.
But at the party, did you see it? It was like passing out hors d'oeuvres to all the men in the party in episode 8, which is next episode.
The dogs are like the dogs in our next podcast are like gonna be like the highlight of the show.
It's gonna be a lot of conversations about dogs.
I was dying watching the dogs in episode 8, 9.
And then something about Greg too is that he's never seen a girl put makeup on though because he always stands at the door and he goes, yeah,
it's kind of weird.
You get pretty for me. You get pretty. But what did you think about?
I've always thought that's something that for me as a guy, I'm like, give him that space. I feel like that's kind of me time for girls. Just give it to him. Like,
and
I find it kind of odd. He's always in the doorway, and he's like, whenever she does things in the bathroom, like it's just a little weird. I don't
commenting.
know.
She has a lot of brushes because each shade has a different brush. I'm assuming.
Or she said they all have different uses, and like for me as a guy, I'm like, cool. I don't need to know.
That's right.
You do you.
But in the same breath, I mean, Matt didn't want to share with Amber bathroom in their new home, which Amber didn't like, but he thought he was giving her room to spread her stuff out.
Well, they're terrible communicators.
Yes.
Because had they just addressed that up front, right? Like, and again, we're giving Matt way too much credit to be intelligent and emotionally intelligent enough to address this, but that point that he eventually got to was like, I just thought you would appreciate having your own sink.
Yeah.
And because when she was like, no, like, are you my roommate or are you my husband? He should have just said right there, oh, I'm sorry, I was reading this, I did this thinking that we would each have our own spot and that would be nice.
Yeah.
This is not meant to be distancing, right? This isn't meant to make things weird. I just thought it was a courtesy to give you your own space. Which she probably like, okay, like, no, but no, let's, and I go, okay.
All right.
But no, he drags it out to being like, I like my own things in my own sink.
Basketball.
I just can't with Matt.
Hotel room by myself.
I can't with Matt.
But who's right in that situation? I mean, I see Amber's point in the sense that we're together now. But we need to have the same. I would never want to live in a home without dual vanities if I can avoid it.
Yes.
because there is nothing worse than sharing a sink with a girl.
There is one thing that I thought about, and I'm like, for me, there's times where I was up way earlier than my wife was. I'd go into the other room that had a shower to take a shower, and I'd get ready in there because, now granted, it wasn't all the time.
Was this for your mobile detailing business?
Yes.
That was about to take off?
My 5 a.m. detailing.
My all-night
auto
detail.
detailing. Yeah.
But
I just, for me, I think it's picking a fight in a not so relevant space.
Yeah, it's not worth.
Choose your battles. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. And also, like, there's no grace given to the fact that you guys are figuring each other out. Just be open to be in this position of like, hey, there's one thing that's to be constant in this first month together, and it's learning what we do and how we do it, and just being open to change.
Well, like you said, they're bad communicators, and watching Matt think it's like two mice are fighting out in his head, and he's sitting and waiting to see which mouse wins, so he can address that. Like, he's such a bad communicator, but I think he's like crippled with self-doubt, which does not make for a good entrepreneur.
I think he's crippled with a lack of like identity. He doesn't know who he is. He
literally took Amber to the room that he's living at a friend's house, of a house that he doesn't own, of a room that he doesn't rent, a room that he's staying in, and he's touring it like, this is my bed. Okay, like...
Well, like, he has all of his shoes tucked under, like the little desk that's there, right? Yeah. And it's like... And she even, like, I think she even makes a comment where it's like, it's just like how it would be if he was, like, staying at a hotel. Like, yeah. Because, again, that's what he's doing.
And he's a transient. He's a transient person.
He's waiting for his next contract. He's waiting for his next team to sign him up.
So, I mean, how do you feel about, because it's like Amber's so afraid of being abandoned, and they paired her with someone who is a transient person that would leave at the first sign of trouble, the first drop of a hat.
Oh, I see Matt as that person.
Yeah, so I mean, how do you think this is going to work out?
Oh no, I was not confident with Matt and Amber on the get go.
No.
I think she is bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and overly optimistic, knowing the man that she just married. Not that those things are bad things, but they're bad things in reading between the lines. That is Matt. Right?
Yes.
Or rather, reading between the colors, because it's paint by colors for Matt. Or paint by
number.
Paint
I drew a blue duck because I've never seen a blue duck.
The number 2 says it's a blue crayon.
But I used pink because I thought it'd be cool. The dude put a picture of himself on his nightstand.
It's so he can remember who he is every morning.
It
probably has his own signature. This is Matt.
Basketball.
I play basketball overseas.
It literally is a picture of just him. No family member, no loved one. It's Matt.
He's his own inspiration.
Yeah, that's his autobiography will be, it's Matt. By Matt. For Matt.
Reminds me of Matt Damon.
I don't know. Matt's going to bounce. Entrepreneurs don't put all their eggs in one basket.
He doesn't even know if he's an entrepreneur. His buddy's got the detailing gig. He's got the idea, all the ideas, and he's just in on it.
And literally, Amber's like, "Hey, like, if this doesn't work out, you don't have to go. I'll take care of you." He's like, "How dare you? Yeah. Orange ball goes in cylinder, and I get money."
He has issues with it in a situation where he is currently living rent-free in his buddy's house.
Yes. The guy's a complex creature.
Again, he doesn't know what he wants.
And this is hard. We were both college athletes, but it's like the real-world experience can be put on hold if you don't, if you're all about your sport. If, like, everything, if you pour everything into your sport, but
Absolutely.
You don't diversify your life, once that's taken away,
you become very one-sided.
You become very one-dimensional.
And I mean, that was my thing. I got to the point where I'm like, I got to be working towards something because I can't keep doing this. And you have that real talk was like, this ain't going much farther. So I got to be making sure that by the time that dwindles away, I've got something solid that I've got underneath me.
I knew there was no NFL in my future looking at my body and just who I am. So football was
looking in the mirror. Didn't pass the mirror.
I know that I wasn't going to get a call, and I kind of, reached my
peak athleticism
by playing in college. But, like, I always thought football is what I do. It's not who I am. I try to maintain that mentality, which I don't think Matt has. Not that I'm trying to pat myself on the back, but
well, and he's been good.
I got bruises from doing it so much.
Well, and he's been good enough to be able to pursue it at a European professional level.
Yeah.
I mean, so you got to give it to him there. But like, I mean, you look at a lot of these other athletes that are pros, and they've got lives too. So it's and I again, his family upbringing is real weird too. We still don't know what that whole situation's about, and I feel that basketball was probably his only saving grace. It got him away from his problems, and so therefore it is his solution to everything.
Yeah, but you're right, and I think you're right. But like, unless you're playing golf, the time for athleticism.
Oh, it's a short window.
Catches you up.
Yeah.
And you can only hope that you make enough money to.
Well, but I mean, he could always
if
be
you
a
make money at
coach.
all.
He could always, I mean, he can still make a career out of basketball in general, right? But But again, you need contacts. You need to have a social life. You need to there's things that need to take place for you to be able to do that. And like you said, I think he's so one-dimensional down that path that when that's done, it's done. He's got to figure things out.
Him coaching basketball would be like Bobby Boucher explaining football. The center give the ball to the quarterback give the ball to the running back, and I chase after the running back and I tackle whoever had the ball. It's like that would be Matt in a basketball sense. I don't know anything else, but something I want to jump into too is that Iris snooping through Keith's room during her home. Does she have right to do that since he's technically her husband now, or was that crossing a line? And she found condoms in his nightstand, and there were
an empty condom box.
Empty condom box, which Keith's response was hilarious. Well, I packed them all for the honeymoon, not knowing who I was marrying, and then she's like, "There's only 3." And
no. She goes, "Where are they?" And he goes, "They're in my backpack." And she goes right over like, "Well, let's open up the backpack."
And she's like, "There's only 3. How many times were you expecting to have sex?" And he said, "I don't know, 3." At least 3.
Well, I like Keith. Keith is just so real. Like he's gonna tell you, he's gonna give you an answer.
He didn't try and hide anything. No. He's very confident in himself.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those weird situations where it's like you both agreed to get married at first sight.
Yeah.
So everything before, and they Iris eventually gets there. She needs the other girls to help her convince her of this, but you signed up for this. You got to understand that the past is the past. You guys are just getting to know each other. Like, it's not like he's been sleeping around while you guys have been doing this.
Yeah. Did you know that Iris is a virgin?
Yes.
I just found that out this episode.
Just this episode?
Just this episode.
You mean Keith's mom didn't spoil it for you?
I didn't know she was talking
Iris
about Iris. I didn't know she was talking about Iris. I thought she was talking about somebody else.
I don't know. The only thing that really irks me about Iris is that there seems to be a sexual immaturity about her.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about whether or not she's willing to have sex. I'm talking about the condom thing and when she when on their honeymoon when they're in bed together and she's doing that thing where she's framing his face with her hands. I'm like, guys don't find that attractive. That's not I don't know what she's going. It's
my personal space.
It's my husband. Well, it's just it's my husband. It's my husband. It's she doesn't really understand the what usually follows in actually having a deep marital relationship.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's sex all the time. I'm just saying it's she almost kind of she does that because she's uncomfortable about even just the concept. And even when she and Keith talk about it, she can't have a conversation about it. She doesn't have that sexual emotional maturity for it. It's an icky concept. I'm like, Iris is what, 28? Something like that, probably. I mean,
yeah.
It's it's okay to. It's not, it's admirable if you're still a virgin because you're holding yourself and waiting for the right person. I'm not that. There's nothing wrong there about that.
Yeah.
But at least kind of be comfortable having that conversation.
I think that to tie a nice little bow on this, just as Matt's identity is wrapped up in basketball, we saw how the show is cut. She's so caught up in what virginity means about her that she's projecting onto Keith, I'm a virgin, and she says it every other sentence time, is that she's a virgin, where it's becoming her identity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good
point. And then you have Deanna with her independence. I'm independent. I'm independent. I'm independent. I'm independent. Becomes the identity that puts up an impenetrable wall that, their now husbands can't even get through.
Yeah. Yeah. And no, I agree completely. I don't think there's anything really to really touch on that other than, again, I think it's she's borderline annoying as a result of it.
Yeah.
And I lean her more closely towards like a middle schooler.
Yeah.
Like maturity and like you throw the word sex out there, you throw like, oh, boobs, and she'd be like, yeah, it's like.
By the way, when you said boobs, that was hilarious. Just want to say.
I just wanted to say it on the podcast.
But she's also weaponizing it a little bit, where it's kind of like a dangling carrot to Keith, and she has no idea why Keith hasn't just like pillaged her. Or tried to make it where Keith is a respectful gentleman, but it's like, like she'll be like, oh, I'm getting this much closer. No, I don't know. Oh, no. It's like this little cat and mouse game, but it's just kind of like he goes back to her maturity, which.
Again, and she's like, when she sees that box, she's like, oh, was he just a nympho beforehand? I'm like, he could have had sex once a month prior, and you would have assumed that was an nympho activity because you don't know what an nympho does.
And, the fact that he's using condoms is a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, lowers the
chance. It means he's responsible.
Lowers the chances of STDs. This episode is brought to you by Trojan. No, but it's like, there's no babies running around. He should be cleaner than most. Nympho, yeah, I didn't like that. But Pastor Cal.
Yeah, let's get into Pastor Cal because he starts visiting everybody.
So the experts start checking on him and coming in and kind of calling them out for their BS.
So he starts with Iris and Keith. So let's go.
Starts with Iris and Keith. He said that marriage is a dance, and it's about, you move and you adapt to what's going on. You realize what's happening, and then you adapt your movement.
So we're talking about that first month of like figuring each other out,
and
they have different schedules, so
it's not stepping on someone's toe and getting mad that their toe was there. It was like, okay, I'm gonna take a shorter step here to counter step that their foot might be there, and I'm gonna follow their lead. What else did he say to him? Because was the naked moment with them?
No. The naked moment is with Beth and Jamie. But with them, they again, a lot of it does surround them sharing roles, and you're talking about cooking dinner and sharing responsibilities. But the main thing that Pastor Cal really hammers on them, and it's mainly Iris, the fact that he kind of, and I think this is part of what goes back to what we were talking about, was he gets her into a corner of like basically accepting the fact like you still see your husband as a stranger.
Yeah, and
he's not a stranger.
Yeah,
because she called him. Yeah, she said like it's still like a stranger. And he's like, he kind of nips that in the bud. He goes, "That's the problem right now. Like, you need to get rid of that thought. He's your husband." And again, this all goes back to like, you signed up for this.
Yes,
like you signed up for this.
At a certain point in time, you need to drop that facade and start dropping walls. And he went to Jamie and Elizabeth's, and I really like this piece of advice, the naked moment. What I like about it the most is that it addresses to your partner that you are going to be open and you really want them to listen. It's like a precursor. I want to have a naked moment right now. Mm-hmm. That triggers the ears to go up.
It's the concept of vulnerability.
As opposed to, like listing out 12 things that are bothering you, and it was really number 3 that was bothering you, and then you get mad that they only heard number 9 and 10 because they're the last things that they talked about. Mm-hmm. So I like that. He called Deanna's "don't compliment me" thing insane, which I really appreciated because it is insane.
It is. Yeah,
that doesn't come back.
No.
Once it's gone.
I mean, yeah, he's like, and again, it's funny that like he has this conversation with multiple couples, but it's like in this segment he is playing the role of reminding them that they're married.
Yes.
And like, all right, like first of all, the guys are totally cool with like getting intimate, right? Like, yeah, they're all like, I'm waiting. Like you know, like Greg is like waiting for this opportunity.
Greg, yeah.
He's into her, and like she's like growing, and she's getting But Greg is ready to
pounce.
He is ready to seal the deal.
Rev up her motorcycle.
Yeah. And but he addresses that, and he's like, you guys need to actually like physically practice, like, or I should say practice physical intimacy.
Hold hands.
Hold hands. Like, do stuff that like connects you guys more. Start acting like you're together.
Correct. And what did he talk about with Matt and Amber? I don't have that in my notes here.
With Matt and Amber?
Yeah.
With Matt and Amber, it's...
Go to Sonic because they're paying us a ton of money.
We have to address that. Matt is really... Well, that's when they go visit... That's not when they visit him, is it? No, it's when they...
Go to visit her family,
Yeah,
I guess.
her family. For
is that
family
next
night.
episode?
That might be next episode.
This is the problem with Netflix is that it bleeds into the next episode. If you don't catch that little square that's like filling up white for like to like move the next episode, you don't recognize when the show ends. So I actually watched halfway into 8. And I'm like, this is the longest episode I've ever watched in my entire life.
I've got the right what would you call it? Like landmark. Got the right landmark for you. This is where Matt snaps the shower curtain off before Pastor Cal comes in.
Okay.
And it's like you said, it's a tension rod.
It's a tension rod.
But he says, I broke the shower.
I broke the shower.
So
where am I gonna get wet after I play ball?
All right, and again, going back to our best impersonations of Matt, I had to quote him here because when Pastor Cal asked him, how was the honeymoon? He doesn't say anything about Amber. He talks about how nice the place is. All right, he goes, so literally, quote unquote, it was a really cool place for us to get to know each other. Not like, I got to know Amber really well.
I'm really glad you paired me with her.
I had a great time being with her. No. It was a really cool place for us to get to know each other.
I got to wear all my high socks on the beach. I was so happy. And I got to play putt-putt with the boys. Nothing better. So that's kind of it, man. That's kind of the episode. Then it bleeds into they start doing more at-home stuff. What else do you have? You're laughing at something.
I'm laughing because I got another Matt quote.
Oh, you got more Matt? I'll always listen to Matt quotes.
He says, I think we'll be able to coexist peacefully, which I hope is everybody's nuptials.
And coexist sounds so separate. That's like the worst word you can use.
Well, and peacefully?
And coexist. I hope that I can coexist with my spouse. Okay.
Dear wife, on our wedding day, as you accept this ring, I just hope that we can coexist peacefully.
Amen.
He's full of it.
He's becoming the caricature of this show.
Oh, there's just so many red flags on both of their sides. I mean, we give Matt a lot of shit, but
he deserves it.
Amber's got a lot of things that she's got to work through, and
poor Amber.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that next episode.
She's signing herself up for disaster here, but.
Before we go into Stone's rating again, we want to thank Wash Park Lending for sponsoring our podcast. And again, if you're looking to buy a new home or refinance, now's the right time to reach out to Justin at www.washparklending.com to get started. And again, it's NMLS number 1952608. So give him a call, tell him we sent you, and we do appreciate their sponsorship. So, Stones rating, Alex. We each have, at the end of every episode, we give a Stones rating. We each have 2 stones to give.
Naturally.
2 stones meaning that it's actually kind of fun to watch, and no stones means an act of castration is preferable to watching this episode. So, we also have the highly touted, never forgotten, highly requested meaty scale. So I hope that you have a good understanding of what you're going to say here. But where do you fall down on the Stones rating?
You know what? I'm going to give it 2. Okay. And I think a lot of the entertainment value that comes from it is actually having the therapists and the pastors come back into this scenario.
Yeah.
And just kind of poke holes in their shit.
It's
entertaining and it's insightful. I was because I'm having my own thoughts and my own ideas, right? And I'm like, and then I'm watching Pastor Cal come in, or it's Dr. Pepper, right? And it's like, yes, I was thinking the same thing.
Well, even Greg was like, I'm not crazy. Like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Thank you.
With the compliments. Yeah, with Diana.
Like, you don't have that in a relationship that's private between you and someone else.
You don't have an arbiter that goes, no, you're totally valid here. Stop doing that.
Okay, 2 stones. I'm giving it, we can't give half stones, so I'm going to do 2 stones as well. It would have been a 1.5 because I did not like the last episode of The Honeymoon.
Yeah.
But when the experts came in, when they started merging, like when all other reality TV shows end, when this put into their everyday life, you had the experts coming in, giving their 2 cents, coaching them up, seeing the things that they run into once, like, I know
It's
the
fantastic.
cameras are still rolling, but it's like,
It's fantastic because you start to see, like, they set them off straight on the path, and they quickly just start going towards the headrail,
and then
the
they
guardrails.
whip it back
and
into
then they come back a week later and go, no, let's stay back on track.
And I think that it's kind of fun too because unlike what's portrayed in movies and everything like that, marriage is less about the actual wedding and more about the rest of your life. Where, you know, a lot of people get that backwards. It's all about the wedding, and they don't recognize that the marriage starts at the wedding, and then you have the rest of your life to work through it and work on it. So
As Keith said, one day down, a million more to go.
Exactly. So I like this show because it kind of focuses on things after that. So
Yeah.
where does this come down on the highly vaulted meaty scale?
It's not too meaty in terms of like drama and things like that. I mean, we'll get into the meatier scale for the next cast.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Yeah, the next one's meaty, so definitely pay attention to that one. But you know, it's I don't know, pork chop. It's
Pork
meaty.
chop.
It's meaty, but it's not, you know, nothing too sexy.
It's got good bones to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a tomahawk steak, you know, but it's, you know, it's gonna do the job. You know, it tastes good. You know.
You know, I like eating pork chops.
Yeah, they're not bad. I'm not saying that's what I'm saying. It's not bad, but it wasn't just like, it wasn't, you know.
Sometimes I go to a steak
It wasn't a
restaurant and I want a
16-pound
pork chop,
T-bone steak.
and
I know.
I don't get it. And it's like I'm at a steakhouse. I should get a fillet, but a pork chop is sometimes just super satisfying.
You do you.
Yeah,
I gotta take care of you, man.
yeah, man. Well,
I
you
got,
heard.
I got a great place, the pork chop. We gotta take you to, so don't worry.
All right.
We'll
Well,
do that.
they don't sponsor us. So tell me off the air. So you heard it here first. This is a pork chop of an episode 4 Stones, episode
first 4
6
Stone, I
and
think, in the
7.
series.
It's the first 4 Stone in a
Easily.
while
Yeah.
because we haven't
We've
liked
got-
what we've watched for a long time.
We've gotten a little more critical, I think.
So 4 Stones. Stay tuned for next week, episodes 8 and 9, and have a good day.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
We'll be back.